Does a young Marine have the right to mock an old rifle? If he doesn't know who's holding it, did you dig that thing out of a museum or something? Private Kyle Harper lets out a mocking laugh, pointing at the dark wooden rifle whose finish has long been worn away by time. Or is it some leftover relic from the Civil War? A few laughs break out behind him. No one stops it. No one says a word. The rifle rests quietly in the hands of an old man. He doesn't react. He doesn't turn around. He doesn't answer. Harper steps closer. That thing is supposed to be a weapon. I bet it can't even hit the target. The laughter spreads wider. An open insult. Blunt. Unhidden. The old man remains still. His hands hold the rifle with an unexpected firmness. His eyes stay fixed straight ahead as if the words never existed. No one knows who he is. No insignia, no title. Just an old man with an old rifle, standing among brand new uniforms. And in that exact moment, the entire range silently chooses to stand with the one who is laughing. If you believe that true courage isn't found in the sound of gunfire, but in the silence of those who have already walked through war, subscribe to Brave Veteran Stories so we can preserve the memory, dignity, and honor of our quiet heroes. Elias Walker bends down to pick up each spent shell casing scattered across the packed dirt ground. He works slowly, steadily, leaving nothing behind, not a single wasted movement. The laughter behind his back still echoes, but it never reaches the faded fabric stretched across his bent shoulders. He places the casings into a metal container, turning his wrists slightly so they settle neatly inside. Those hands are sinewy, sun-worn, the fingers thick and strong, like hands long accustomed to holding heavy weight for many years. Elias straightens up. He wipes his hands on his pant leg, then turns back toward the old wooden table beside the range fence. The rifle has been lying there since early morning. The wood has darkened with age. The metal is scratched dull, not new, not polished. Elias opens the bolt. A short motion, precise, without looking. He takes a cloth from his pocket, folds it carefully into a small rectangle, and wipes each metal surface. No hurry. No hesitation. His breathing is slow, in through the nose, out through the mouth, steady like a habit carried for many years. Private Kyle Harper watches from behind, still wearing a half smile. "Didn't you hear me?" There is no answer. Elias doesn't turn around. He adjusts the sling, pulling it just tight enough. No more, no less. Another young Marine whispers, "Is he deaf?" A short, dry laugh slips out. Elias sets the rifle down on the table. He checks the bolt again, then closes it. Metal locks into metal with a clean, decisive sound. No one taught him to do it this way. No need to look at a manual. No reminder required. One small detail makes a few of the laughs slow and fade. Elias checks the muzzle direction by reflex, even though no one asked him to. A habit so deeply ingrained it no longer requires thought. He stands there a few more seconds, as if waiting for something only he knows. Harper snorts. "Guess you're better at cleaning than shooting." Elias turns his head very slowly. He doesn't look straight at him, just a sideways glance. "Every job needs to be done right," he says. His voice is low, slightly rough, without emotion. Just one sentence, then silence again. Elias turns back to the table and continues wiping the rifle. The cloth moves in straight lines, never circling, as if he has followed the same fixed sequence for a very long time. There is no trembling, no awkwardness, none of the irritation one might expect from an old man being insulted. Only focus. Another Marine notices something. Each time Elias pauses, he draws in a deep breath, holds the rhythm for a brief moment, then continues. As if every movement follows its own measured cadence. Harper shrugs. Who does he think he is? Elias folds the cloth, puts it back into his pocket, straightens up. His back isn't completely straight, but it is solid. Solid in the way of someone who has stood for long periods in places where sitting was never an option. He lifts the container of shell casings and walks past the young Marines. He doesn't avoid them. He doesn't step aside. His eyes pass over them in a single breath. No contempt, no challenge. Just the look of someone who has seen enough to no longer need to prove anything. Harper turns to his friends, lowering his voice. "See?" He can't say a thing. But Elias's silence doesn't calm the air. It creates a void, and that void makes the next words even bolder. That silence is mistaken for weakness, and it is in that moment the one who mocked him decides to take another step forward. It was that very silence, so easily misunderstood by those who had never tasted war, that was mistaken for avoidance. And that was when the words began to cross the line. Harper turns back this time without the crooked, mocking smile. His voice is louder now, clearer, deliberately meant for everyone to hear. Do you still not get it? He taps the toe of his boot lightly against the hard-packed ground. This is a Marine Corps firing range, not a scrapyard. A few laughs break out, not all at once, but enough to spread. Just look at that thing, Harper continues, pointing straight at the wooden rifle on the table. Cracked wood, scratched metal. I'd bet it wouldn't even pass a safety inspection. Another young Marine chimes in, you'd probably have to pray it doesn't blow up before the shot. The laughter grows louder. A few turn to look at Elias, waiting for a reaction. There is none. Elias stands still, his back slightly bent, his hands resting loosely at his sides. The old rifle sits at the center of the mocking stares, turned into the focus of the joke. Not because it is dangerous, but because it is different. Harper steps closer. That thing is supposed to be a weapon. He curls his lip. More like junk. The word junk drops heavy and cold. It isn't meant only for the rifle. Elias bends down and adjusts the sling. A small movement, slow, without resistance. Aren't you ashamed? Harper asks, his voice now openly challenging, standing next to us with that thing in your hands. A brief pause follows. No one steps in to stop it. Elias lifts his head. For the first time since morning, his eyes are not sharp, not angry, not pleading, just tired. This rifle, he says, his voice low, brief, has never betrayed me. Just one sentence, no explanation, no defense, no one understands it right away. A few frown. Harper bursts into laughter. Did you hear that he says, turning to the crowd? He talks to it now. The laughter rises again, this time louder. Elias says nothing more. He turns back to the table and places his hand on the rifle. Not to stroke it, not to reassure it. Just resting his hand there, as an old habit. Harper folds his arms across his chest. Let me tell you something, he says loudly, confidence thick in his voice. Here what matters is results, not memories. Another Marine nods. Yeah, it's all about the score. Elias turns to look at them. No frown, no submission. That's right, he says. It's always about results. The words make Harper hesitate for a split second. Just a single beat. He tilts his head. Well then, that's perfect. His tone shifts, no longer mocking, but provoking. If you believe in results, Harper says slowly, then prove it. A few people in the crowd begin to pay real attention now. The casual laughter fades. Elias stands a little straighter. He doesn't step forward. He doesn't step back. Harper points toward the far end of the range. Farther, harder, just your style. No one realizes that a calm sentence from an old man has just opened a door like this. Not a door to honor, but a door to a challenge beyond ordinary limits. And from that moment on, public humiliation turns into a challenge reckless, arrogant, and impossible to take back. That short, calm sentence makes the laughter falter, and in the space it leaves behind, a reckless idea begins to form. Harper tilts his head, the smile on his face thinning. Then let's be clear, he says, trying to sound composed, though something sharp slips through. If results are all that matter, are you willing to put it on the line? Elias looks toward the far end of the range. He doesn't answer right away. Harper steps closer. Farther, he says, far enough that nobody here shoots for fun. A few people turn to follow where he's pointing. The 1,000-yard marker sits motionless at the end of the long stretch of land. Far, bare, unforgiving. Just you, Harper continues. No spotter, no wind calls. He pauses for a beat. The wind's unpredictable today, everyone can see that. The crowd murmurs. Some shake their heads, some smirk as if they already know how this ends. Well, Harper asks. His voice rises. You're the one who said it's about results. Elias places his hand on the body of the rifle, not gripping it, not stroking it, just resting his hand there. No need for a wager, he says, and no need to prove anything. The answer catches a few people off guard. Harper curls his lip. So you're scared? Elias shakes his head almost imperceptibly. Not for me, he says. For you. Harper frowns. For me, Elias looks straight at him. His eyes aren't sharp, but they're deep. There are lessons, he says, you only learn after staying silent long enough. The crowd bursts into laughter. No restraint this time. Sounds like a lecture, someone says. We came here to shoot. Harper folds his arms. Then this gets even simpler, he says. You shoot. We watch. A gust of wind passes through. The flag at the head of the range flutters slightly. No one notices, except Elias. He looks at the flag, then at the open stretch ahead, then back at the rifle. 1,000 yards, he says. Even tone. That's enough. A few whistles cut through the air, not in belief, not in anticipation. Listen carefully, Harper says loudly, as if afraid someone might miss it. One shot. If you hit, you're right. He pauses, lowering his voice. If you miss, take that thing and get it out of here. The silence thickens. No one objects. Elias nods. Once. All right, he says. A young Marine whispers, he's crazy. Another laughs. No, he's old. Elias lifts the rifle. The movement is slow, steady. He doesn't say another word, doesn't ask for conditions, doesn't ask a single question. Harper watches the smile returning. Let's see what your lesson teaches, he says. Elias stops at the firing line. He doesn't step across immediately. He turns back and looks at Harper. Do you learn fast? He asks. Harper shrugs. I learn from results. Elias nods. Good. He steps forward. The crowd instinctively shifts back. No one speaks now. Not out of respect, but out of curiosity. No one believes in a different ending. In their minds, the failure is already decided. Elias stands there alone. No support, no one beside him. The wind shifts, then shifts again. A familiar trick at long distance. He waits, not for a command, but for the moment. Harper tightens his folded arms. Go ahead, he says, his voice no longer laughing. Elias doesn't respond. He inhales, holds, exhales. No one knows that he doesn't step forward for his own honor. He steps forward for the ones still laughing, because they need to learn something that modern weapons don't teach. And as the old man steps onto the firing line, the scattered laughter begins to fade, replaced by a heavy, expectant silence. And as the old man steps onto the firing line, the scattered laughter begins to fade, giving way to a heavy, waiting silence. Elias stands still for a beat. He doesn't look at the crowd. He doesn't look at Harper. He checks the bolt. Close. Open. Close again. There is no explanation. No lecture. No boasting. Harper clears his throat. Go ahead, he says. His voice carries less confidence now. Elias doesn't answer. He adjusts the sling, pulling it just tight enough. An old habit. No need to look. A young Marine whispers, he's not using any of that stuff. No one replies. Elias inhales, holds, exhales. He places his hand on the rifle. No tremble, no hurry. Harper glances toward the far end of the range. Just to be clear, he says, trying to sound casual. One shot. Elias nods. One shot. He lowers himself down. A familiar position. Solid as if measured long ago. No countdown. No signal. The crowd holds its breath. Not out of trust, but out of curiosity. Elias looks toward the distance. Very far. Where everything becomes so small, there is no room for error. The wind shifts, then shifts again. Someone murmurs, maybe he's waiting for something. Elias waits, not for the wind to die, but for his own rhythm. Harper tightens his hands. He isn't smiling anymore. Elias exhales one last time. His finger settles on the trigger. No jerk, no hesitation. The sound is clean, final. Elias holds his position, doesn't move, doesn't look for a reaction. A few seconds pass, longer than all the laughter before it. Someone downrange shouts, hit. No one believes it at first. Another beat of silence. Dead center, another voice says, high with disbelief. Harper spins around. What dead center, the voice repeats. No drift. There is no laughter now, no jokes. Elias rises, slow, calm. He opens the bolt, removes the casing, slips it into his jacket pocket. No raised arms, no celebration. Harper stands frozen. His mouth opens, then closes. That's not possible, he says, almost to himself. Elias turns back, looks at Harper. It is, he says, low, clear. Another Marine swallows hard. How did you do that? Elias shakes his head. Doesn't matter. Harper steps closer, slower than before. You... He hesitates. You really fired that? Elias nods. Yeah. No further explanation. No secrets. Just the result sitting there. Undeniable. Harper looks at the rifle. He doesn't call it junk anymore. Where did you learn? He asks, his voice quieter. Elias looks off into the distance. A different time, he says, and people who aren't here anymore. No one laughs, no one interrupts. A few of them stand a little straighter. No one orders it. Elias slings the rifle over his shoulder, turns away. Harper calls after him. Are you shooting again? Elias stops, doesn't turn around. No need, he says. One shot is enough. The crowd parts instinctively. A path opens. No one laughs now. Elias walks through, as calmly as he arrived. And the silence after that single shot is heavier than all the mockery that came before, carrying something no one there can deny. And in that heavy silence, when every trace of mockery had faded, a familiar voice rose from behind them. Stop. Low. Brief. No need to repeat it. A man in uniform steps forward. His posture is straight. His gaze does not inspect, it recognizes. Harper turns around. Colonel Silence, Colonel Reynolds says. Not loudly, not harshly. He looks straight at Elias. For a long moment. That can't be, he says quietly. It can't be you. Elias remains still. His hands hang loosely at his sides. Colonel Reynolds takes one more step. Walker. His voice lowers. Elias Walker. Elias nods. Once he says. Colonel Reynolds inhales deeply. We filed the report, he says. We put your name on the board. He pauses. We believed you were killed in action. Elias bows his head. At times he says, so did I. A dry swallow ripples through the crowd. No one laughs now. Colonel Reynolds turns to the younger Marines. Do you know who you're standing in front of? No one answers. He speaks slowly. Clearly. Master Gunnery Sergeant Elias Walker. A few of them freeze. That rank is not a joke. Harper stands motionless. Sir, Colonel Reynolds does not look at him. He was once called White Knight Walker, he says, because he held a hillside for 3 nights straight. He pauses. No reinforcements. Elias closes his eyes. Just for a beat. In driving rain, Colonel Reynolds continues. He hit targets at the same distance you saw today. He looks at the rifle. The very same rifle. Someone whispers, 3 nights. Colonel Reynolds nods. 3 nights, he says, and 1 platoon made it out alive. Harper takes half a step back. His face drains of color. Elias opens his eyes. No need to tell it, he says. His voice is low. It's over. Colonel Reynolds looks at him. No, he replies. It was never called by its right name. He turns back to the crowd. You laughed because you didn't know. His voice grows heavier. But not knowing does not excuse disrespect. Harper lowers his head. Colonel Reynolds raises a hand. Not to me. He looks at Elias. You haven't changed, he says, still silent. Elias shrugs. Silence keeps you alive longer, he says. Another Marine asks quietly. Sir, why is he here? Colonel Reynolds answers at once. Because he never asked for anything for himself. He turns back to Elias. Do you know, he says, that I kept the casing from the round you fired that day? Elias smiles. Very faintly. Hold on to it, he says. Don't lose it. Colonel Reynolds straightens. Attention. The crowd follows. No command needed. Colonel Reynolds salutes. No flourish, no delay. Elias nods in return. Nothing more. Harper stands apart. No eyes are on him anymore. Elias turns back, looks at Harper. You asked me where I learned, he says. This is the answer. Harper cannot speak. And when the truth is finally called by its proper name, the one who once insulted it realizes he has nowhere left to stand, not because he is cast out, but because honor has just returned. And when the truth is finally called by its proper name, the atmosphere shifts. The eyes that once laughed are left with silence and self-examination. Harper stands still. His shoulders sink. His hands clench, then release. Colonel, he says, his voice breaking. I crossed the line. Colonel Reynolds looks at him. Do you understand what you did? Harper nods. Yes, sir. He lifts his head and looks at Elias. Sir, I'm sorry. Elias does not answer right away. He looks at Harper for a beat long enough for the apology to find its footing. Colonel Reynolds steps forward half a pace. This matter, he begins. Elias raises a hand. No need, he says. Low, clear. Colonel Reynolds stops. You're certain? Elias nods. I am. Harper swallows. Sir, I'm ready to accept discipline. Elias shakes his head very slightly. You've learned, he says. That's enough. Colonel Reynolds looks at Elias, then at Harper. Listen carefully, he says. This is an opportunity. Elias turns to Harper. What do you think respect is? He asks. Harper is silent, then answers softly, knowing who you're speaking to. Elias shakes his head. No, he says. Respect is how you treat someone when you don't know who they are. A pause settles in, not heavy but deep. Harper bows his head further. Sir, I understand. Elias reaches into his jacket pocket. He takes out a shell casing, old, darkened with age. He places it in Harper's palm. Keep it, he says, not to show off. Harper's hand trembles slightly. What for, sir? To remember, Elias replies, that a word can miss its mark, and a silence can strike true. Colonel Reynolds turns to the crowd. Did you hear that? Yes, sir, several voices answer. No need for perfect unison. Elias looks around. You're good, he says, but being good isn't enough. A Marine asks quietly, Sir, what's missing? Elias answers at once. Humility. Harper looks up. Sir, I'll remember. Elias nods. Don't remember me, he says. Remember the lesson. Colonel Reynolds straightens. There will be no punishment, he declares, only responsibility. Harper snaps to attention. Understood. Elias turns halfway, then stops. One more thing, he says, his voice softer. Don't wait until someone is called by the right name before you begin to show respect. Yes, sir, Harper replies. Elias nods. Nothing more. He adjusts the sling, steps away slowly. Colonel Reynolds watches him go. You're not staying. Elias smiles faintly. No need, he says. The lesson is staying. The crowd parts. No one speaks. Harper looks down at the casing in his hand, tightens his grip, then loosens it. And as the old man leaves the way he came quietly, what remains is not a feat of marksmanship, but a new standard that has just been set. And as the old man leaves the way he arrived quietly, what remains begins to reorder itself into a new kind of discipline. The firing range is no longer as loud as before. The jokes disappear. The pace slows steadier, more deliberate. People start lining up properly. They look more carefully before speaking. They listen longer before reacting. Harper stands at the front of the young Marines. His voice is lower now. No rush in it. Check muzzle direction, he says, before you think about your score. No one laughs. No one complains. Harper stops in front of a recruit. You good? Just one sentence. But different from yesterday. The recruit nods. Good, sir. Harper looks toward the far end of the range, where the distance still lies unchanged. He swallows, then turns back. We shoot slower, he says, because slow makes you think. A Marine asks quietly, about the wind. Harper nods, and about yourself. No one asks more questions. They follow. In another corner of the base, Elias Walker returns to his daily work. Sweeping floors, collecting brass, logging numbers. No one calls him by rank. No one asks about the past. He eats lunch on time, drinks water regularly, leaves his shift when it ends. Some people greet him. He nods back. One afternoon, Harper walks over. No hurry, no noise. Sir, he says. Thank you. Elias pauses, for what Harper meets his eyes. For not turning me into a villain in front of everyone. Elias smiles faintly. You did that yourself, he says. And then you fixed it. Harper takes a deep breath. I'll carry that with me. Elias nods. Carry it through action. Harper turns away. His steps are firmer now. In the days that follow, the range continues to change. No new rules posted, no slogans added, only the way people treat one another. A young Marine misspeaks. Another corrects him quietly. No laughter, no mockery. An old rifle is placed on the table. No one calls it junk. Elias Walker finishes his last shift of the week. He hangs up his jacket, locks his locker. He steps outside as the sun lowers. No one sees him off. No one asks him to stay. He walks slowly past the parking lot. His figure grows smaller. Back at the range, a training session ends. Harper watches the Marines disperse. He takes the shell casing from his pocket, looks at it, then puts it away. The most dangerous thing he says to himself isn't a new weapon. He remembers the words he heard, the eyes he saw. The most dangerous thing he repeats is the discipline of someone who survived. The next day, life continues. No one speaks Elias Walker's name. But the way they speak changes. The way they wait changes. Even the way they remain silent is different. Legacy doesn't stay behind as medals. It doesn't live in files. Legacy lives in well-timed pauses, in words held back, in respect shown to someone who hasn't yet been introduced. And somewhere among ordinary people, an old man continues living his simple life, leaving behind a standard that requires no signature. If this story makes you believe that honor and kindness never retire, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Brave Veteran Stories so that none of their memories are ever forgotten. Brave Veteran Stories. We remember the quiet heroes.